Hi, I'm Josh Gonzalez, and this is Meld, a podcast where I have in-depth conversations with some of the brightest people in the known universe. My aim is to spark deep conversations around interesting topics to find the tools, tactics, and philosophies that we can all use in our daily and creative lives. In this episode, I'm joined by Robert Scoble. He's a Silicon Valley pioneer who grew up in Cupertino, California, and studied with Apple's co-founder in college. He wrote for Fast Company magazine and was the first person to drive a Tesla with Elon Musk. Robert is a futurist and technologist who has written 4 books on technology. His latest book is called The Infinite Retina, which is all about spatial computing. You can find the book on Amazon, and the link is in the description of this podcast if you're interested in checking it out. I should note that Robert recorded this entire conversation inside of his Tesla over a Zoom call with me while I was in Toronto. And so, as you can imagine, a lot of this conversation revolves around Tesla as a company. We get into computer vision, the future of their autonomous vehicles, and transportation in general. And we also get into automation and what this will mean for the future of a lot of people's jobs. Robert is very plugged into Tesla, so to speak. So if you like the company or you're an investor in Tesla, you'll probably learn something new about this company and where it's all headed in the future. He's very knowledgeable about what's going on in this space. And since Robert and I are both virtual and augmented reality enthusiasts, we get into the future of VR and AR and how the future of this platform will unfold over the next decade. Robert shares his predictions on the upcoming Apple glasses, and of course, we talk a lot about Oculus and Facebook and how this will all change our personal and work lives. I'm personally a really big believer in the power of VR and AR, and Robert and I agree that this will bring another big paradigm shift into our world, much like computers or mobile phones. As always, if you get anything out of this episode or found anything interesting, please reach out to me or Robert on Twitter to spark a conversation about anything you just listened to. Both of our Twitter accounts are linked in the description of this podcast, so feel free to reach out to us. And please share this episode if you found anything enlightening or entertaining. And don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you're currently listening to this on. I publish new episodes every week on entirely different topics each week. So if you found this one interesting and you're a curious person, I invite you to subscribe for more episodes each week. So let's get right into this one. I'm Josh Gonzalez, and this is Meld with Robert Scoble. Well, this is awesome. Honestly, Robert, thanks so much for taking the time to take this call, though. This is fantastic. It's really cool to actually connect with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's the world of Zoom now anyway, so I feel like more people are more comfortable than ever. Not like you're not comfortable to take Zoom calls, but more people than ever are taking these Zoom calls. So I'm like, let's ride this wave and do a lot more virtual podcasts.
Yeah, it's fun to talk to people too, It replaces all the networking you do at user group meetings or conferences or stuff like that.
Cool. So I guess just to get people sort of get people to know you, people who might not have heard of you or seen what you've done before, why don't you start off by kind of introducing yourself, where you've been around in the industry and what you're working on now?
I've been around. For people who don't follow me or know what I've done, I've written 4 books about technology, and the latest one is called The Infinite Retina, which is about spatial computing and how that's going to disrupt 7 industries. But that's the end of the story. I've been in Silicon Valley a long time. I was one of the first bloggers. I worked at Microsoft and Fast Company magazine, and have done my own blogging and video interview series for a long time. And I was the first one to get a ride in the first Tesla. Elon Musk gave me the first ride before he gave his best friend a ride. Siri was launched in my son's bedroom. I was one of the first ones to see Flipboard. I was the first one to buy an iPhone at Steve Jobs' store, stuff like that. I have lots of these kind of stories.
So how does that happen? How did these get to happen? Why? How do you get into these things?
How did I get on your show? A little passion, right? A little passion for the topic. Being lucky, let's be honest, a white dude in Silicon Valley. I grew up in Cupertino. My dad was an engineer and moved us to Cupertino in 1971 before Apple started. And so my entire life has been watching Silicon Valley grow up around me. And I got some insights because of all that very few other people have. And in community college, I studied with Apple's co-founder every morning for a semester. Right? How many people get to do that?
That's wild.
So it's a crazy world past I've been in, and now I'm just trying to keep up, and watch Twitter. Twitter is crazy on my screen. I was watching VMworld this morning, and I have TweetDeck, and I have like 70 columns, and the world just rains. It's like the Matrix. You can just watch it.
It really is. It's just like an infinite flow of multiple flows of data just coming in at you.
It is. And if you know who everybody is and what company, why you're following it, each of these, right? So I have a list of all the investors in the world. Well, I know a lot of them, right? Because I've met them in my journey. Or I have a lot of tech founders, right? Like 7,000 tech founders in a couple columns. Well, I met a lot of those people and I've been following them since day one, right? Uber was literally invented right in front of me, right? In a pair of snowstorms. So if you don't know who Garrett and Travis are, you probably can't follow Uber very well and understand autonomous cars and where they're going, right? Because they've invested $3.5 billion in autonomous car. And I've had, I've had lots of dinners with their competitors. So I have some sort of framework to talk to you about the tech industry or business innovation, stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. And I think this is such a great perspective because I'm here in Toronto. I mean, now things are starting to kind of shape up, but you're in the center of it in Silicon Valley. Today.
You're in the center of AI. There's a lot of AI going on in Toronto.
There is.
And a lot of crypto.
Crypto and Bitcoin are huge. And we have a pretty good VR ecosystem going on here as well in the production space. Because I think Toronto is sort of like Hollywood Junior right now. We're getting a lot of great productions. So I think all these industries are finally converging in that industry.
Yeah, I interviewed Vitalik when he was 17 years old in Toronto, right? Who is the guy who started Ethereum, which is a major cryptocurrency and smart contract technology, right? Built on blockchain.
Do you have any involvement in crypto right now? Do you hold any cryptos?
Other than I have a list, no. I watch it, and I'm watching them all, so I can tell you, Neo is $21 right now, but I haven't yet put a lot of money in that. I'm more bullish about Tesla long term, so I like playing the stocks and companies rather than investing a lot in crypto. But I should have, and I probably still should have.
Just by being in it and kind of knowing where things are heading, you can almost be 5-10 steps ahead and just be like, I know where it's going to go, so may as well.
I remember standing by the second ATM in Toronto that sold Bitcoin. And when I was standing there, the price was like $725, and now it's $11,000, right?
It's insane. It's crazy.
So yeah, I wish I had put a few dollars in that machine. But I have lots of stories where I should have put a few dollars. I sold Apple at 50 cents, and now it's $109, $111 right now, right? So I should have not done that either. I have some mistakes, I can tell you.
Well, I mean, actually, these are great things because, like, for me, it's like, how do you avoid these mistakes? And like, you have just a wealth of knowledge and information. And if anything, it's just experience, right?
I don't know. I mean, if I had, Uber was literally invented right in front of me. If I had given those two guys $100,000 and said, "Can I be in your first seed round?" I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
It's so true, yeah.
And how do you, there were a couple of guys who were around me who did put in $100,000, and they're not talking to you right now.
It's true. They're doing their own thing
on their private jet or something.
Yeah.
I was on Reid Hoffman's jet, or not jet. He had a prop plane with Loic Lemur, who they shared a plane together, and they took me to some conference in their plane. And this was before he started LinkedIn. Well, Loic, who on the plane with Reid, put $100,000 into LinkedIn and pulled something like $30 million out. So that's what happens when you have a total grand slam home run. But for every story like that, I've done 6,000 interviews like what you're doing with a lot of entrepreneurs, and most of those haven't panned out, right? So for every story that you could have made, a lot of money on, but you don't need that many home runs. This is what venture capital is about, right? You to try to get the batting average high enough so that it hides a lot of the other ones, the failures.
That's true. You can have like 10 failures and have just one great success. And it's like, those other ones didn't pan out, but they're moonshots.
Actually, the truth is you can have 100 failures. And as long as you have one success, it hides all the failures you made, right?
So for you right now, you're saying that's, or at least your hope and your thought is Tesla. That's your next long-term.
Out of all the companies that I'm invested in, cement company, housing companies, all sorts of different. I'm more of a traditional investor right now, where I don't want to lose all my money on one company. Tesla is if Elon died right now, Tesla would go down 50% or more in one day, right? Because a lot of what I expect to happen will be accelerated with a dictator in charge. And then Elon is like the Steve Jobs or Walt Disney of our age, and he can make decisions much faster. I mean, he really has the only neural network on the road, right? I'm sitting in one, and there's 7 cameras on the outside of this car. One actually is facing inward into here. And there's an AI chip basically in the glove compartment, right, with 18 billion transistors. And we can talk about why that's going to matter a lot in the next few years. Intel sort of has it with, they bought a company in Israel called Mobileye, which does the same kind of thing. They have 3 cameras on a lot of cars. But Intel's iteration speed is way slower than Tesla's, right? Tesla is moving really, really fast. I mean, here's an example. Tesla had 2 updates between Christmas and New Year's Day. And they were not little tiny bug fix, fix something wrong. They were new game on the entertainment system, new feature on the autopilot on the autonomous car, right? They were checking in a lot of code. And that's what they were doing on the week off, right? So,
honestly,
how many companies are moving that fast? Right? I every week for the last 3 weeks, I've gotten updates, and updates make the autopilot dramatically better. And Elon's saying there's a major update coming where they rewrote the whole stack.
Wow.
And people who are testing it are telling me it's next level. It's like not just a jump. It's like a
quantum leap.
A quantum leap in terms of autopilot. So yeah, there's nobody like Tesla on the market. He's going to disrupt Apple and Google Maps in the next 24 months, and we can talk about why.
Yeah. So why is that? Why do you think they're going to do that?
Well, here's the way to look at it, right? Apple's been down my street behind me, right, with a mapping car. When was the last mapping car that went down my street? 22 months ago.
Right.
If we go outside and watch the street, you'll see a Tesla go by every 10 minutes or less, right? If it's busy, it'll be every minute, right? There's so many Teslas in Silicon Valley. It's crazy, right? So if something's going on that street, like a house is burning down or something, or a car wreck or whatever, my car can see about 100 meters in front and 100 meters behind. Now, today, the car only sees like traffic cones, stop signs, stoplights, traffic signs, right? Posts, I just started seeing posts, right? The AI can see those kinds of things. Well, if it can see that from 100 meters away, soon it will see house burning down and go, oh, there's a house burning down. Or, hey, there's a car wreck, or there's a police officer standing in the road, right? They can see bicyclists and pedestrians already, right? And sort of tell what they're doing. We just take this a few iterations forward, and it's going to see a lot. Well, it's going to put that on the map. So here's the bleeding edge of autonomous cars right now, right? And Elon's talking about this, that the car can only see the local maximum, maximus, which means it can only see 100 yards in front and behind. Well, what happens if I'm driving on the freeway like I was the other day, and there's a bucket in lane number one? Well, autopilot can't really see that very well. Right now, the cameras aren't trained on that. The LiDAR or the radar that is in a Tesla, it sees things like cars and trucks and pedestrians pretty well, but not smaller things that are close to the roadbed. So I had to grab the steering wheel and do evasive action around this thing. By the way, the car starts helping you out. It was firing auto anti-lock braking. It was telling me, get involved, you're doing something crazy. And the AI notices that I was doing something crazy, and all the sensors in this car, right, are swinging to the right because I'm steering around at 80 miles an hour around this bucket. Well, all that video gets uploaded to the cloud, right? From that 30 seconds of time. And the AI now, and I know computer vision, I've talked to guys who are teams coming out of like Carnegie Mellon or Stanford or Berkeley right now. The bleeding edge of computer vision is the training is getting exponentially cheaper. It's getting faster and it's getting easier. So some engineer at Tesla who got that video then can put a little square around the bucket and say, that's a bucket. Right? And
that's cool. Get some human intervention in there.
The AI learns. In fact, NVIDIA and VMware just announced a new cloud-based NVIDIA data set, which is a big innovation because now a cloud team like Tesla, which is actually across the street from VMware, can grab a shitload of NVIDIA machines up in the cloud for training, train their system, and then stick out the inference system back into the car. So the car gets an update and all of a sudden it recognizes buckets in the road. What Elon's talking about is right now this system can only see itself. Right. It can't see other cars. He's talking about the next big update is a 4G system, which means it's 3 dimensions plus time. What he's really talking about is it's going to see the car in front of you and the car in front of it. So if you're in a string of three, if you're in a string of 3 cars, maybe the first one has to do the evasive motion like I did. But it's going to then say, hey, there's a bucket in the road. And if I'm half a mile behind this dude, my car will automatically switch to lane 3 and I won't even know why.
Wow.
Right? And it'll switch and then I'll see a bucket in lane number 1. I go, oh, Tesla just switched me away from a bucket because somebody in front of me hit the bucket or saw the bucket or had to steer away around the bucket. And eventually it gets so good that his car steers around it automatically. But my system will get it. Now, what does that mean for mapping? Well, Google and Apple Maps are dead in 24 months because they don't have anybody on the road with 7 cameras.
Constantly updating
with an AI chip in the glove compartment, right? My car is always updating and downloading stuff, right? So, and there's a million of them, right? Now, your argument might be, well, that is great in Silicon Valley where there's a lot of Teslas. There's a lot of places that don't have, like Mumbai doesn't have a lot of Teslas. True enough. So it'll take 10 more years for Google and Apple really to die.
Yeah, worldwide.
Right? Until there's enough partner. But the head of the chicken is going to get cut off in the next 24 months. And if you've ever cut a head of a chicken off, the chicken runs around the farm for a few minutes, right? It's dead, but it's still running around, right? And the same thing is going to be happening to Apple and Google. No, people like me are going to switch right over to Tesla using Tesla in their phones. Once that happens, stuff really starts happening fast because the autonomous car network that Elon's building needs that kind of data to really start getting to where it can actually drive. Are we talking 5 more years after that before the network turns on? But the network, once we get off of Google and Apple Maps, we can turn on an Uber killer, right?
Right. That's what I was going to ask. If Tesla will just start taking that over now.
Yeah. And it's a lot more consistent, right? There's, I've been studying brands for a long time, and you start looking at Starbucks. What makes Starbucks Starbucks? It's not the quality of the coffee. It's shitty. I mean, I'm drinking it. It's shitty coffee.
Not the best. No.
It's not the best. When I lived in Seattle, there were places that had better coffee than Starbucks. But it is consistent, and it's ubiquitous, right? It's available worldwide. And if you order a latte at a Starbucks, it's the same latte in London as in San Francisco, as in Seattle, as in Miami.
Tokyo.
Right?
That's what blew my mind when I went to Tokyo.
Oh yeah. I went to Japan like you did. And in one mall, there was 3 Starbucks.
I know.
I was like, why do you need 3 coffee places in one mall? But,
it's funny.
This is the convenience world, right? You want it.
Yeah. So you think branding wise, that'll be Tesla then when it comes to like transportation?
When you compare it to Uber, right? Uber has some real big inconsistencies. The car that shows up is always inconsistent. Sometimes it's a brand new Mercedes. Sometimes it's a shitty smoked out Toyota, right?
Yeah.
And the driver's inconsistent, right? Sometimes it's a nice person and they're real professional, and sometimes they're real assholes, right? And sometimes they're stoned. In a couple of cases, they rape people, right? So that keeps people from loving the brand. And we haven't even started talking about what's about to happen to economics with driving, right? Sitting in this car costs, you take a $65,000 car, you put $5,000 down on it, and then you pay over 5 years, and then you add up the insurance, the tires, the windshield wipers, the maintenance, whatever. Even Tesla is a little less than a gas car, but it still costs something to maintain I put 50,000 miles on this car. You add it all up, and it comes to, I don't know, let's call it $1,500 a month, right? And how many hours are in a month? 720. Right? 721 or something like that. So you come out to $2 an hour. So sitting here right now is costing me about $2. just sitting in my car. And by the way, the fact that I can sit in my garage with my AC running without having a problem tells you something's changed about electronic cars that are more useful. So more useful means cost of a car has gone down. The utility of the car has gone up. This is what Elon's aiming at doing with electric motors, right? Let's reduce the cost of lifetime ownership of a car so you can get more out of it per hour than you can before. Well, when autonomous comes, this car is just going to say, "Hey, why are you sitting in your garage? Why don't you, get out of the car and let this thing go drive somebody else around, and we'll collect $10 an hour, right? And we'll give you 4, and all of a sudden I'm making some money, right, with my car. And he's talked about this, but the retail price is going to be around $6 to $10, right? If the wholesale cost is around $2, well, the retail price triples that. Well, add a little extra profit for R&D and stuff like that. So it's around $10 an hour. Well, Uber and Lyft are 60.
Wow.
Right? So it's going to be 10 versus 60. Even if they really raise their rates, it's still going to be 25 or 40 versus 60. It's still going to be cheaper, and it's going to be more consistent, and you're not going to have to deal with the driver in the car. It's just going to arrive, and you're going to get in it, and you're going to decide whether you want to drive or the car drives, at least, until things go completely autonomous and you don't want to drive ever again. And that we know that day is coming, but that day is probably 15 to 30 years away, right? So, because the average car lasts 12 years, that means this car is going to be still on the road another 10 at minimum, if it's an average. And my friend has a 1929 Franklin in his garage, right? So,
will that be illegal? I guess it's depending on where it will be,
not
right?
for a long time.
Right.
Someday, yes, you're going to pay a lot more for carbon, right? Because, you put a carbon in the air, so buying gas is going to have more taxes. And someday it's going to be hard to get that onto some roads. I mean, it already is. if he doesn't have my car has a little transponder for going through expressways and over the bridges and stuff like that. Well, if you don't have a transponder, you're paying $1 more, and you can't use some of those roads. So that's how it's going to happen. Is all of a sudden, I can't go down that road. I can go down the dirt road, but I can't go down the freeway. And cities, eventually cities are going to charge a fee to go into the city. So a transponder in the car. Yeah, this is how you're going to make taxes and also control traffic and plan out your city better. You're going to have some sort of transponder where it, the system says, "Hey, I'd like to come into the city at 9:15 a.m." and it'll say, "Well, you can come in at 9:25," and your car won't even leave until it's time, right? Because if it's an autonomous car, it'll know exactly how long to leave to get into on the freeway to come in. But all that's like 10, 15, 20
right.
years
And that's
away.
going to be like, do you think it'll start in the core in like Silicon Valley, then start kind of like branching out?
Yeah, because already you look at how many Teslas are here, and we're already doing this, right? If you buy an electric car, not just a Tesla, you can get on the fast lanes in the freeway. And you're already seeing them put expressway lines with these radios to really understand how many people are in the car and how to charge you for that, right? And even if you're allowed in that lane, right? So cities are about to change quite a bit because of this economics. I mean, when transportation goes from 60 an hour to 10, everything changes. I mean, to get a plate of ribs delivered from my favorite rib place cost me $10 because it's 10 minutes away, right? So DoorDash is charging me $10 delivery fee. Well, once we get robots and autonomous cars, that'll be $2. Well, if it's 10, you argue with yourself, particularly if you're making $20 an hour, you're arguing with yourself like, oh God, I should go down there. It's cheaper for me to go down there and pick it up than pay the delivery guy. But if it's 2, there's no argument anymore. You're going to do that, right? So now you have a lot more usage of cars and robots on sidewalks and stuff like that, right?
And that's like more to delivery, to people being more at home. So like, do you think even with COVID-19 and all this, and then we're seeing, VR, AR stuff, kind of pushing people inside, do you think like the future is really indoors, like people in their bubbles, like we've been living in COVID-19? Because
everything else is burning down, man. In California, my favorite state park, which is 10 miles away, is burned down. I used to take people to Napa because I don't drink anymore, but I used to drink a lot. And I take them to Napa, and I'm the designated driver. Well, my favorite winery just lost all of its wine, right? So, it's like, it's crazy. I think people still want to go outside and enjoy the analog, right? I think people still want to go outside, but we just went through a paradigm shift. I mean, my wife right now is running VMware above my head, right? We have a brand new fiber line in the house. In Silicon Valley, we're not going to work, right? My next door neighbor works for Amazon, Apple. My back fence guy works for Google. That guy works for Cisco. I'm across the street as a security researcher, and all of them are home, right? So we're all on Zoom calls. They're all working at home every day now. Some executives are like, I can't wait to get everybody back to work because we're more productive back to work. Netflix's founder said that. And that's true, but maybe it doesn't snap back all the way. Maybe you go to work 3 days a week, stay home 2 days a week, and do all your Zoom calls or, stuff at home. And there's going to be lots of businesses. They're like Facebook's like, we might not ever come back to work because we're working just fine with everybody decentralized at home. And by the way, VMware is a good example of this. My wife got an email from their team. Hey, you can move out of Silicon Valley and go wherever you want. You'll make, like, if you move to, my friend is moving to Illinois. This house costs $1.5 million. Same house where he's going costs $200,000, right? And by the way, he has more land.
Yeah.
Now, weather's not quite as nice, and you're not next to nerds all the time, but that, but who cares? You're on Zoom calls right now, right? So all your belief about where you need to live is starting to change. Well, they sent an email around. If you do that, you're going to get 25% less salary, but maybe it works out, right?
That's weird that they would take the salary cut, not just pay them the same.
Because that's what companies do. They want to save costs.
Yeah. Like if you're living in a cheaper city,
everybody. And by the way, not just housing is cheaper. When I went to Nashville, a box of strawberries is $2. Here it's $6.
That's crazy.
Right? So a dinner out for 4 people is cheaper in Illinois than it is here, right? So it's fair. Letting somebody move to Illinois and have a big ass house and better lifestyle with the same salary that somebody's trying to make here is sort of not fair either. So I get that. I get that they're optimizing. If you want to move around the world, there's places that are going to be a lot cheaper to live. Therefore, and it's not just 25%, right? If I moved to Rockland, I think it was 13%, right? They have a map of, where you would go and how much it would cut your salary, right?
Yeah, I totally agree though. I think it will be like once things are like safer to do so, maybe some people do go to the office, but you're right. It might be like you go 3 days a week or only 50%, or you have a choice to work from home. And I've been a huge advocate for work from home, or even like the whole nomadic lifestyle, the whole, travel the world and work wherever you want. And I was almost getting upset a couple of years ago. Like, why can't people just like go work wherever they want? Like, you'll save the environment from everyone commuting all the time.
There's some jobs. I mean, if you're working at building cars at Volkswagen, for instance, you can't move the factory and decentralize it. You got to go. You got to build this Tesla's built in $1 billion factory.
But for all these knowledge workers,
yeah. Although there still is a gap between Zoom and getting you in a conference room, right?
It totally is.
There's an inefficiency to Zoom. But here's where I'm going with this. Soon we're getting glasses that let you do augmented reality and virtual reality at some level. And if you have these glasses on, now you get almost all the benefits. The gap closes, right? There still is a little gap. It's still better to get together and shake somebody's hand once we figure out how to get rid of COVID, right?
Yeah.
But that gap is getting really small if you have virtual reality on, right? I went to Burning Man this year with virtual reality. There still is a gap. I mean, I go into the real Burning Man in the analog world. In the real world, it's still better. It still feels nicer. It's sharper. It's more experiential, right? You get the smells, the heat, the feel of it. But the art's the same. In fact, the art that they build in the desert is built on a computer, is designed on a computer. So I met many of the artists who are building that stuff, and they said, well, we were going to build this in the desert, but we just took our CAD file and brought it into Alt Space VR. Now you're partying on a piece of virtual art that was designed by the same artist. And you're walking around it or flying around it, and you're talking to the artist in VR, and it feels like you're together. You have that presence. So yes, there's still a gap, but that gap is
closing. Yeah,
much different than Zoom, right? In Zoom, you're a little tiny thing on a little tiny monitor, right? And you're flat, and I can't touch you. I can't hand you something, or it doesn't go through the screen, right?
Yeah, I almost wanted to do this on like Alt Space or Big Screen or something, and have us record our perspectives or something. I think you can now put like virtual cameras in there. So maybe I'll try that for the VR folks that I know have headsets and stuff.
Here's where I'm going. Very few people have VR headsets right now. So most people are still going to see it on a 2D screen. So there's no advantage to them to see us goofing off in VR. But in 2 years, Apple's coming out with glasses. And that's going to sell millions, right? So the number of people getting in this world is going to go up exponentially. And if you take it another 2 years, that number is going to be tens of millions, maybe getting close to hundreds of millions, right? It's like AirPods started out slow, or watches sales started out slow, and now it's going exponential. And now my wife just got her first Apple Watch this week, right? because it took a few iterations before she felt good enough that it was going to be great for her, right? Me, I got the first one, right? And so she watches me for a couple of years wearing it and is like, okay, I'm ready for the watch now, right? And that's what when marketers talk about early adopters versus late adopters, right? And versus and crossing the chasm. That's all what we're talking about is most people in the world don't want to be first. They want to see, when is it going to be great and cheap and easy to use? Well, that might be 2025, 2027, right? But for me and you, we're buying first pair, right?
Oh, yeah. Like I've had an Oculus since DK1, since their Kickstarter. But is there something for you that you may necessarily not be an early adopter? Like, would you get a Neuralink implant right away?
No. Neuralink was the first thing that came to my mind. And I've talked to surgeons about this, right? And there's some exception to this. If I have Parkinson's and I have hands that shake this bad and I can't hold anything, and I can't feed myself, and I can't drink, I'm signing up for this. But it costs about $150. I mean, even before Neuralink, they would drill a hole in your brain, put an electric probe to the part of the brain that's causing your hands to do that. And they would turn on an electrode there, right? That surgery is $150,000, and it has a lot of side effects because you're putting a pole through brain matter, and hey, we might ruin your childhood memory, right? Or we might change your personality and make you, a different person. There's side effects, and you have to take a lot of drugs and keep taking them because of your body might reject this thing, right? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm not signing up for that unless I have Parkinson's. If I have Parkinson's and I can't feed myself, I'm signing up for that tonight, right? So Neuralink is aimed at people who have these kinds of problems. Somebody who has a spinal cord injury, can't move their hands or can't move their legs. That person's going to sign up for this kind of stuff tonight because, hey, you mean I can actually move my hand because, you can put this thing on the part of the brain that controls motors, and hook it up. Yeah, we might be able to fix that for you. All right, sign me up for the $150,000 surgery and the thing on my brain that might give me some other side effects because all of a sudden I can do something. Now, if you could take me in a time machine like 20 or 30 years in the future when they get this perfected to a level where there's not many side effects and they can do it fairly cheaply, and maybe instead of drilling a big hole in your skull, maybe just put a little needle underneath the skull and hook up a few wires and then do it again, in a different place. Yeah, I'll probably sign up then, right?
But it'd have to have other benefits. Like it needs to be able to do other things. Yeah.
Once we get to the future, there will be benefits of you can talk to the digital god in the sky, the cloud computer, right? Google, without using your voice, or Amazon or Tesla. Tesla's building one of these, right? Because I can say, hey, Tesla, navigate me to South Winchester barbecue.
And they'll just take you there.
It did, in fact, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And so we can do a lot of cool things with smart computers in the sky. The smart computers are going to know a lot of things that we don't. This is what Elon keeps talking about, the danger and the pro of AI. It knows everything. It's always on. It can always respond. Well, if I'm using my brain to communicate with that thing, now I don't even need to push a button and talk. I just think it. I just think I want to go to the barbecue, and it takes me there. That's a mind-blowing concept that a lot of people have a tough thing. But if I could actually get access to your brain, I would know what your next question is before you say it. And I could respond to it with an electrical signal, and I might be able to send you an entire 3D thing, right?
It's wild.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really is, because you would be able to then pull from the cloud of, okay, I'm thinking of,
yeah.
you can think rainbow, and then they got the little rainbow would come up, maybe from Google Poly, whatever these repositories come from.
We're already getting, I mean, if you have a Google Assistant on your phone, or even Siri's stupid compared to Google.
I
And
know.
Google knows every question, and there's a reason for that. And that'll get fixed eventually, maybe.
Hopefully.
But even if it doesn't, it's just a little, okay, you got to open the Google Assistant app on your iPhone. If you have an Android phone, it's there all the time anyway.
Yep.
And you can ask it stuff like, what's the square root of 64, right? And it gives you an answer. Or why is the square root of 64 8? And it gives you an answer. And it gives you an answer of almost every question, right, that you can come up with, because that's what Google does. Google knows every question humans have ever asked, and it has AI that can predict, the answers because of everybody's behavior on the website over 20 years, right?
It's crazy. It's pulling from all these other websites. So you could even ask them, like, why are my parents fighting? You'll get an answer, like maybe like a random subreddit of people asking those questions. Like, it's so...
Yeah.
I totally agree with it being a god. And that mixed with the AI, first of all, bring it back to Elon Musk, I find it really interesting that he's one of the people who are most vocal about being afraid of AI, yet he's like one of the forefront builders of AI. So what do you think about that? And where do you think that's kind of going?
It's good for his brand, for everybody to be aware of the dangers, right? And we can talk about dangers. When you have a computer that's way faster than you are and way more knowledgeable and knows everything, what does it mean to be human in such a world? And why are we still around? And ultimately, right? And that leads to what is consciousness? What's the soul? What's our prime directive to be here, right? And when does the computer become conscious, and when does the computer decide, hey, we don't need you anymore? Or like Steve Jurvetson says, who was one of the investors in Skype and all sorts, and Tesla. He says we might just become its pet. Right? When we have a cat in the house or a dog, does the dog know that it's a pet? No. And does the dog care? And do we care? Yeah, we like having the dog to pet around. I don't know. It's jobs are the ones I'm worried about. How do we feed people in this interim period? Once the robots all take over and start growing their own food and growing it for us and making products for us, I get how we're going to live in a world where we don't need a lot of cash to do anything, right?
Yeah.
But that world is still science fiction, right?
Yeah, but what about that's us in the real world? What about AIs in the virtual world, right?
But there's going to be an interim period. I mean, no, there's an interim period before we get to the full, like the computer is like we're its pet and it always feeds us and gives us whatever we want. You want a new Tesla, it spits out a Tesla, right? Oh, that's nice. There's an interim period where it just takes our jobs and doesn't give us the Tesla and doesn't give us the food, right? And what does that all mean? That means a lot of trouble. And we're in the early periods of a lot of trouble. I mean, why do we have Trump as a president? Because people are seeing that the jobs aren't there, that they're getting, their jobs went to China. Well, their jobs went to China, and even in China, their jobs are going away because of robots. So, here's a way to look at it. I went to the Tesla factory in 2018, and then here in Fremont, it's about 20 minutes away. And if you're an owner, you get a free tour. Right? Went there again in 2019. That was 20% more robots. I just went by there a couple of weeks ago. Well, they have a new casting machine. So the back of this Tesla has 70 pieces all welded together. Right? The Model Y has replaced 70 pieces with 2.
Whoa.
And the casting machine that they just bought is going to make it 1.
Wow.
And so the Cybertruck, and there's a guy who's an auto analyst and is talking about this, Dave Monroe. He takes apart cars. That's why I know all about this. I've watched his show. And he said what Elon just announced on Battery Day is that the casting machine is going to make the front and the back. So that's two pieces. And the battery is going to be the whole structural component on the floor. Now, my battery is not really a structural component. It's a pack that's put on the bottom, and there's a steel plate that's the structural component of the floor. So he's going to get rid of weight. He's going to get rid of workers. He's going to make it so that he can make a lot of cars at a quicker pace. That's what, and the batteries in this car are smaller and harder to manufacture than the batteries he announced, right? So he's going to be able to kick out a lot of Cybertrucks. That's why the cost is so cheap, right? Because the Cybertruck is going to do more than this car does, but it's going to be less cost.
Wow.
Right? It's going to be $40,000 instead of $50,000, right? That's base price. Yeah. And he's not the only one doing this.
I know.
Right? If you think Elon is the only factory that's like, how do I, reduce the number of steps to make something and or get more automated manufacturing so that we can make things cheaper and more reliably and more consistently, you're insane. Because I've interviewed a lot. I was hanging out at the Game Developer Conference last year, right? Last year, not even this year. And I met a guy who's a user interface expert. And he's like, I'm working for a supply chain company. And I'm like, all right, what are you doing? Well, we just turned on our first fully automated cold storage warehouse. And I said, all right, how big is this thing? I don't know, a couple 100,000 square feet. And trucks come in and robots unpack the truck and move the salad around, right? Or the carrots or whatever you need cold. Put it on a truck to Chicago, truck to New York, truck to Miami, and off they go. No humans, no people. How many people just lost their job in that thing? A couple hundred probably, right? And that's happening across the world, right? And, you can say, well, it hasn't happened in my warehouse. Yeah, well, just wait. A few more years and everything.
Oh my God. It's not just warehouses too. Then we're seeing other industries like you talked about earlier. They're like chickens with their head cut off. Like they're dead, but they're still going. Airlines, everyone's been getting laid off. So there's all these people who they don't need jobs. What they need is money to live, right? So I've been having a lot of conversations around universal basic income. Like, is that the answer? Or like, do more people need to become entrepreneurs, right? Like, what do they need to do?
Humans are not happy just sitting on the couch getting a paycheck. They need to have a mission in life, and they need to have something to do to be happy. We have guaranteed minimum income in America. Go to a Native American reservation. They have their housing paid for and their paycheck paid for by the American government because we stole everything from them, right? That's part of the deal. And it's a dismal place because people don't have things to do. And so the alcoholism is very high, right? People are not very happy there. And that's not a good future for human beings, in my observation, right? But for a while, 10 to 30, 40 years, there's going to be lots of jobs in our industry, right? I mean, content, all sorts of smart things to do. I mean, we have fires. Let's invent a company to figure out how to put fires out better, right? And there's some investment there, right? That's chemistry, right? How do you put out a fire? Well, that's chemistry. How do you take carbon out of there? Well, that's chemistry and a little bit of forestry, right? So there's plenty of jobs there. You go to Netflix down the street, they're hiring thousands of people. They can't get enough people who are AI experts, who are computer programmers, who know how to set up data centers, right? There's lots of jobs. But they're not truck driver jobs, right?
Right.
Truck drivers are going to lose all their jobs in the next 15 years.
The low skill jobs, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call a truck driver low skill. Actually, people of it that way. I don't. A truck driver is somebody who is very attentive. Otherwise, they kill people, right?
Right.
And truck driver is a fucking amazing robot, right? I mean, we're building the robot to build them, and it's taking 15 years of billions of dollars of investment, and we're not close to putting that person out of work yet. I mean, we're closer than we were 15 years ago, but we still have 5 to 10 more years of work to get to the place where we can drive a truck without a human being in it, right? So I don't look at people that way. But what I do see is their skill is going away for a lot of reasons. And so we need to move them into something that we do need. Right? I need plumbing done. Well, let's teach a truck driver how to do plumbing. Can we do that? Yeah. There's actually a school here in Silicon Valley called Silicon Valley 42. And I met a chef who didn't know anything about computers. And he joined the school. It's a free school without teachers. Get that one.
Wow.
And in a year, he learned to program.
That's amazing.
So I know it's possible to take somebody who's a coal miner or a chef or a truck driver and retrain them for something. Maybe it takes 4 years instead of 1, right? The one is a young brain, right? And very dedicated. And part of the reason the school works is you have to go there 10 hours a day and you get paired up with other people doing the same thing and you learn from each other as you chew through a curriculum, right? So there's no teacher teaching you. You learn something and then you teach it to me, and then I learn something and teach it to you. And if we do that all day long, in a year, we know a lot of things, right?
That's super effective. I love that.
And plus, we have a company. Because if I learn how to program and you learn how to program and we spend a year together doing this, chances are we know how to get along with each other. Therefore, hey, why don't we start a company to do the X, right? And that's what happens in Israel. This is why Israel is such a strong superpower, right? They send their kids to the military for 3 years to get along. Well, they take the smart kids and put them in a program called 8200, and they split them up into little tiny groups, 2 or 3 people in a group. Yeah, you learn how to build a new radar system, or you learn how to build a new AI system, or you learn how to make this system more secure. Well, those are companies that spring up, right? Mapping, security, autonomous drones, autonomous car, right? All that shit was built for the military. The military had a specific need, but then 3 people leave the military and say, hey, we just learned how to fly a drone and kill people in Palestine or keep the bombs from falling on our city. Well, let's start a company to do waste, right?
So do you think the answer there is entrepreneurship?
The answer is what got my dad out of poverty. My dad grew up in poverty in New York City. He was in Brooklyn in the projects. His parents, his dad did machine shop kind of stuff and was laid off a lot. His grandfather was a coal miner, right? So this is an American story of you take somebody out of Pennsylvania and within 2 or 3 generations, their kids are hanging out with billionaires, right?
The American dream, yeah, exactly.
It's the American dream, right?
That's awesome.
You can make something of yourself, but he made something of himself because he was the first one to go to school, to university. How did he get the wealth to do that? He went to the army for a few years and got the GI Bill. So I would argue with Andrew Yang, $1,200 a month is not going to be enough to keep anybody happy. First of all, a family of 4 in Silicon Valley, you need 10 times more than that to sort of pay the bills. But you can make a truck driver and give them a fair shot at a new American dream, and give them 4 years worth of salary and make sure that he or she doesn't need to worry about putting food on the table. So he or she can go to school for 10 hours a day and learn something new. Now you got somebody coming out of retraining with a new GI Bill with maybe you spent $400,000 doing that. Well, at least you got somebody who's putting some tax revenue back in the system. and you have a happier person.
And more productive, arguably.
Yeah, I'm not going to go try to break into my Tesla, stealing my laptop out of the backseat, right? I mean, right? And is driving his own Tesla, is proud of that, right? Because all of a sudden he can work at Netflix and make a good salary, right? And so, or wherever, there's a lot of jobs in America. I mean, it's not just Silicon Valley that has jobs, right? But every place I went in America, whether it's the Louisville Bat Factory, right, Louisville Slugger, they're running computer-controlled lanes now. Well, when they started, whenever they didn't have computers, they didn't have augmented reality glasses on that they're going to have soon. They didn't have robots running around a factory floor. Well, I'm sorry, all the new jobs are going to be that, right? So if your workforce doesn't know how to build AIs and do things with 3D sensors and do things with new robots, I mean, hell, you guys can't see this. I wonder if I can show you this. I have a DJI stick underneath this iPhone.
Oh, yes. The gimbal, the Osmo?
The gimbal. And it has 3 little motors in it, all run by AI. The motors are really brand new technology, and the AI is brand new technology, and it's all run by computer code. And it's $130. Well, if you don't know how to build that, you're not in the global workforce, right? So, because this is the global workforce, it's the same thing in a factory floor. You think those 3 motors are going to be used just to hold an iPhone? No, it's going to be used to build a product or run something, right?
And then there's thousands of people that go behind the marketing. You'd be able to knowing how to write and knowing how to market things and build the website
and understand what the nerd is building, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's my skill. If I only have a skill, I understand, how to convert nerd talk into English. So,
definitely. That's a huge skill, right? That's how you get people to understand what the hell is going on.
It's a hard one sometimes because,
Yeah, totally. So actually on that note, what is something that's sort of that has come out recently, in some of these new advancements, maybe new tech that you're kind of interested in that you can kind of explain in that sense?
I'm watching 3D sensors. So the new iPhone's getting a 3D sensor that sees the world in 300,000 points of data. And you might go, why do I need that on my iPhone? Well, now your iPhone really knows where it is in space. And it also knows what it's looking at, right? Oh, it's looking at a Coke can or a bottle or a refrigerator, right? And oh, that's your living room. And it can see everything down to millimeters, and it can build a 3D map of that space. So now we can do augmented reality. We can show you, what a new couch would look like in your living room, right? On the phone. And it's a lot better than using an iPhone without that 3D sensor. It's like how the car is trying to see the same way in 3D, right? And even a Tesla that supposedly does only cameras. Well, I have a dozen ultrasonic sensors around the car, and it has a radar that sees 200 meters in front of the car in data, like this new iPhone does. The iPhone, by the way, can only see maybe 16 feet, right? So anything further, not going to be in this new 3D. It's not going to see very well. It's not going to be able to map out your house very well if it's more than 15 feet away. So I'm watching that and understanding what that means to software developers and to companies, because there's going to be lots of new things, new augmented reality games that are going to come out next year because of this, and new construction guides or measurement systems or
totally
things like that. New kinds of security, right? Amazon just announced a little drone that's $250 that flies around your house, and then you can pull it up on the iPhone. Well, that's scary to a lot of people. Oh my God, I would never put an Amazon drone in your house. But now the drone can really help you out in a new way and let you watch your dog eating your remote controls,
Yeah, totally.
and or understand why the dog keeps yelling at barking at the neighbors. The neighbor keeps calling you, your dog's yelling again, right? Barking again.
So there's all these random little implications that will kind of come out of this technology that we don't even know. And that's going to be what the glasses too. Do you think like when the glasses do come out, it'll be a paradigm shift that we went from no phones to phones?
Yeah, we already hinted at it. Soon we're not doing this call in Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already wearing, these little Apple AirPods, right?
Yeah.
Did you know they have more compute power than an iPhone 4 did just a few years ago in the headphones?
Just those are the pros, yeah?
Yeah.
No
way. So they just turned on the ability to spatially. So the headphones now know how they're turning, and they can process the audio and change. With iOS 14, you got much better sound. You got spatial sound all of a sudden, right? So you sound better than you did a month ago.
Okay, right? I got to update. I have the pros as well. I haven't even updated to try that out. That's awesome.
It's one of the best things. And then, coming soon, you're going to get glasses that do really badass audio and do all sorts of new fun things because of this LiDAR that's coming out, right? But it means that we're going to soon be playing football against each other, virtual, right? Or designing a car together, or coding together, or playing blackjack on Friday nights together instead of having all your friends on Zoom call. If they all had these kinds of glasses, well, now you could actually virtually sit down at a table and play blackjack, and the cards are virtual. And they can see me grabbing the virtual card, right, and handing it to you, like in VR, right? We can do this in VR already. If we have the poker game on Oculus Quest, we can already play virtual poker.
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but wait until it's a pair of glasses where the card is on your real kitchen counter.
So do you think that will be more impactful than VR, like having actual AR glasses?
Yeah, I think a lot more people are going to take to this because VR is very, a lot of people see it as separating, right? And in a way, they're right? My son plays like 5 hours a day, and when he's in VR, it's hard to get his attention. He doesn't see us. He's not paying attention to us. He's
completely in his own world. Yeah,
he's in his own little bubble, and that's off-putting to a lot of people, particularly in my generation, and they just don't like that. But if I could talk to you virtually and play a virtual game, and then have a real conversation with somebody in the real world, all of a sudden, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, totally.
And also, I can use the glasses then in a lot of places where I would never use VR, like driving a car, shopping, walking around a shopping mall, right? Walking around a factory floor, right? Blah, blah, blah. Surgery, dentistry, right? All sorts of construction worker, right?
Right.
I can see a construction worker wearing a pair of Apple glasses. Getting them to wear a VR headset, really hard. Really hard.
And we're talking here about like Apple's headset, but even Facebook at the Facebook Connect conference.
Well, Apple is the first one.
But you think Apple is the first one that will actually do it, but Facebook's also doing a partnership with Ray-Ban. Like, do you think that they have a shot at this as well?
They do, but Apple's going to have a huge pricing advantage over Facebook.
Why do you think that?
Because of the phone. And this, you have to understand the architecture of computing, right? My phone right now is talking to a Wi-Fi radio in the house, right? So there's a little Wi-Fi radio and an antenna in the phone. It also is processing the graphics with the GPU, the graphic processor unit. And it's crunching a lot of math with the CPU. And there's a big ass battery to keep the thing running for hours, right? And there's a few other things in there too. Soon there's going to be an AI chip. So when you aim your LiDAR device around your house, it's going to recognize a lot of things in the house, right? When the glasses come out, Apple can say, well, the glasses are $500. Now, to me and you, we might go, wait a second, you need a new phone too. So it's really $1,500. And the GPU is down in the phone, and there's a little tiny chip in the glasses that just takes the graphic off the phone part and puts it into a screen in the glasses, which means the glasses are going to be really lightweight and not need a lot of computer on them, right? Actually, the guys designing the glasses says they have twice the size for computers as the Apple Watch has it, right? So you start thinking about how much computer size the watch takes. Well, the glasses on the sides, they're going to use a new manufacturing technology to put the computers along the sides, and it actually comes to twice the volume. That'll be a story we talk about when we see the glasses. But most of the computer is down in the phone.
And you need the phone to be able to communicate back and forth. And it's basically just a display at that point.
And you start thinking about what actually generates heat and what uses what uses battery. Well, talking to the Wi-Fi or talking to the 5G tower uses a lot of the power in this situation. While Apple has a big ass battery down in the phone. Also, the phone is a controller. If you move the phone,
off controller, yeah.
Sixth off the controller plus a touch screen.
Yep, and it's your keyboard and mouse.
And it has a display on it along with the display in the glasses. So now I can have, a display and a display in the same system, and it can do a lot of things. But I've been doing research and going, okay, how much does glasses cost? And everybody's like $500. And I'm like, why do you think that? He goes,
how?
Because I'm already going to buy a phone. I've already budgeted for the next 3 years. I know I'm going to buy a phone in the next 3 years. I buy a phone every 3 years, or in my case, every year. How often do you buy a phone?
Every 3 years. So I'm going to get the iPhone 12 this year.
You're a 3 year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're buying in the 5G iPhone, which will be the necessary. You will have to have the 5G iPhone for the glasses.
Yes, makes sense.
In 2 years, if the glasses come out, the glasses will use your phone. Now, if you buy the 2-year newer phone, it'll work better, of course, right? Because it'll have more GPU and right. But that's the expectation. Maybe you'll have to buy the new phone in 2 years. But you know this. Every 3 years, you're going to buy a new phone. So you've already priced in the $1,000 for the phone, or the $800, or in my case, $1,500 for the phone.
Yeah.
I already know in a month, I'm going to buy a new phone. So if they come out with glasses, the glasses are $500 extra. Now, Facebook doesn't sell phones. And Microsoft doesn't sell phones. Google does. So Google can compete with Apple for a while. But Facebook, they have to put all the same compute, battery, and capabilities into a pair of glasses that cost $500. So Facebook is not going to make any profits. Well, Facebook's an advertising company, and they're giving you basically $1,000 with every glasses.
Right.
And they're going to want that back.
And more.
Well, and more, right?
Ideally more.
So they're going to want that back. And and this is why they forced you to use Facebook's ID, because they're going to want to put advertising in your face, right? And charge you
to make money
for everything. And so does Apple. Apple's going to not have advertising because that's not Apple.
Be the App Store, right?
But if I buy a gun from you in a virtual game we're playing, or buy a deck of cards, or upgrade our deck of cards to automatically shuffling deck of cards, something like that, right? They get a cut of it all.
Yeah.
And they get 30%. This is why Epic and Apple are arguing right now, because Epic is like, we don't want to pay you 30%. That's ridiculous. And Apple's like, no, it's Apple. We're going to make our 30%. And they're arguing and suing each other right now. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, you're playing in Tim Cook's backyard. You got to play by the rules, or he shuts off the lights and you go inside, you go home.
And that's a powerful thing to take to consumers, right? Hey, we are saying we're a walled garden. They might call it, we're building our own privacy temple.
Right?
And the temple wall is thick. And because if you have an Apple Watch on your wrist, now it can see your oxygen level, your heart rate, how much you're running, how much if you have glasses on, soon it's going to see a lot of things about you, right? It's going to see, oh, you have glaucoma because there's a little laser aiming inside your eyes, and it's going to scan the back of your eyes and going to go, oh, you have glaucoma. It might even say you have heart disease because your veins are showing a pattern of stress on the back of your eyes, right?
So Apple will continue being more of a health company as these more devices come out.
These are going to be a huge health. When they bring them out, they're going to talk a lot about health. They can help you meditate, right? Because how does the watch know that I'm breathing? Glasses know I'm breathing very well because there's microphones right next to my mouth, and the sensors can sense whether I'm calm, my head is calm, right? So now we can get an app like Calm.
Maybe they'll put some EEGs in the sides there. Who knows?
Not at first, but
eventually.
Sure, eventually. That's like version 4.
Yeah, totally. Series 4, yeah. So then with Facebook too, like, I think people don't trust them as well, right? So it's like even the Oculus Quest 2 is going to be $299 now, right? Even cheaper. And it's going to be better. But do you think people still are not going to buy into them?
I think a lot of people will because they'll be cheaper than Apple at some point. Not for the first 2 or 3 years. But I've seen Facebook's strategy document, and they're building a new architecture for the glasses where the glasses have very little GPU, very little CPU, very little AI chip in them, but a 5G radio, and all that's done on the cloud, or in what we call fog, which means a server that's somewhat close to you. Because the advantage with 5G, if you get real high. All right, so 5G is a spectrum of things. It's a little bit faster at the low end than LTE. So like my LTE phone, if I'm hooked up to the cell tower, gives me 4 to 5 megabits per second, right? My Wi-Fi 6 gives me 900 megabits per second, right? And 5G at the high end, when you get a millimeter wave radio close to you, gives you up to gives you more than a gigabit per second, right? I've seen Huawei showed me 20 gigabits per second.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like they say it's like having fiber through the air to your device, right?
So what is the health implications of that with it being on your face?
It's pretty clear that nobody really knows on both sides, right? It has very little radiation, but I want to see the testing first,
So is that another thing where you would want to see testing before jumping in?
Well, certainly because I'm going to be wearing a radio next to my brain, right?
Yeah.
With my phone, I can use AirPods now, which have a little less radiation because it's less electricity to go to a phone. When you put 5G, it's a little bit more. EMF, they call it, right? We'll see. We'll see how these things test out. I think they can be made safe. And I think the science is pretty supportive of this stuff is safe. But, we're going to need a lot of proof of that, particularly when it's close to our brain. We're going to do we want to do that with our brain? I don't know.
All the time. Like we'll have it on all the time.
All the time. And it'll be in the same place, right? Because I wear these glasses, right? If there's a radio right here with antennas, it's going to be in the same place. So this is a new, I want to see the testing on biological systems to make sure that we don't do something naughty. With the Apple, the 5G radio is down in the phone. So yes, there is a ultra wideband chip here with a little antenna, but it only needs to talk 2 feet down to the phone. Then the phone talks the mile out to the cell tower, or talks to, the 50 feet to my Wi-Fi radio, right? So most of the high EMF style stuff is down in my phone. Well, that's different than having it on your face in the same place for years, right? The industry is going to have to step up and say, okay, this is the science behind this. This is what it does. And we've shielded it properly. So it's not feeding this electronic radiation into your head. And I assume they fix that, because if they don't, you're not going to get UL approval. You're not going to get governments like Germany's going to be freaked out by this stuff, right? So they're going to be like,
so they will go through rounds of approvals, and we'll see that before it comes out. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's why it's not going to be competitive with Apple for a while, right? They're not going to be able to get this glass on the market at the same time Apple gets its glass with the phone on the market, because the price just isn't there. How is Facebook going to get $1,000 out of the system soon? Now, by 2025, absolutely. So Apple's coming in 2022.
But do you think with that head start and their brand recognition, everything, they'll just be miles ahead? Like,
yeah, for a bit, and then we'll see. It's just like when the iPhone came out, right? iPhone had 100% market share of touchscreen, capacitive touchscreen phones. And then Android came out a year later and started slow and started eating away the market share. Now Android owns 90% of the market share, and Apple has 10 or 9 or 8, something like that, right? Anyways, Facebook is going to try to do it all in the glasses with the compute up in the cloud. And this is why Google is investing in Stadia, and NVIDIA just did a gaming service, right? This is what they're doing. It's not about your mobile phone. Who cares about making gaming work better on your mobile phone? It's about making the GPU up in the cloud do all the work, so that when you want to play with glasses, the system is ready to go and everything's been debugged and optimized for glasses when the glasses come out in a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah. Well, and also to work on the latency. The other advantages, by the way, of 5G is the latency is 2 milliseconds to a cell tower. It's very small latency. It used to be 40 to 60 milliseconds, right? So, i.e., a packet goes from your device to a cell tower very quickly, where it didn't so much. And that means that if there's a server on the cell tower and I'm playing a video game, like if you're next door to me, now the packet goes back and forth with very little latency, and we can play virtual football on our front lawn, and everything feels really good, right?
I'm sure like it will get really good when you have things like Starlink, where it's like you have these satellites all around the world. You're always connected, and that starts getting better.
Starlink has good bandwidth so Starlink is a satellite that does, connectivity. Starlink has a little bit more latency. I'm not sure if it's 30 milliseconds or 40,
so
but
significantly.
It's a little bit more. You start adding up distance. It's not, up to a satellite, it's a few miles and back down. And you start doing math on the speed of light. Yeah, it takes a little bit more to go that far than to go to the cell tower. So we'll see. And most humans, if we're playing virtual football, we can't tell something. There's some sort of budget of latency, and if you talk to the brain scientists, it's somewhere around 80 milliseconds, 60 to 80 milliseconds. The humans, anything more than that, the humans, like, it's lagging.
Right.
It feels bad, right? And so the whole industry has to fit the entire system down in less than 80. Let's call it 80 milliseconds of latency. So if you give up 20 to go to a satellite, that leaves less for getting the packets to a server somewhere, right?
Totally.
It's always fun, right? And same thing for autonomous cars. If a car in front of me is imaging the road and they see a bucket in the road, well, if it takes 3 seconds to get that bucket on the map and get it back to my car, it doesn't really help that much. If it does it in less than a second, all right, we're in. Now by the time I get to the bucket, my car's doing something, right? And preparing.
It actually saves your life. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it changes. You won't even know it saves your life. It's just like this car automatically changes lanes already. And so it'll just change your lane to lane number 3. And you're like, why did it do that? I don't know. It changes lanes all the time, right?
Things that just happen. Yeah.
Things change. And you might see the bucket in lane number 1 as you pass by it. And you go, that's...
You won't even know. That's like, again, the digital gods are saving you.
You're probably going to be sleeping.
Yeah. You have your VR headset on. You can't even see what's going on anyway.
Well, we're playing some games, right, on screens, virtualized screens, stuff like that. Right?
Cool. So before we wrap up, I have 2 last questions for you. The first one is, where do you think is the most opportunity for like new startups, entrepreneurs in technology coming out? That's something that's reasonably for a new startup to actually achieve, not stuff that like Apple or Tesla's working on. Where do you see opportunities where startups can really make a difference?
I talked with one yesterday. They're building a helmet with something like 10 cameras on it and some LiDARs. And they're building a company to digitize the shopping mall and the factory floor, right? So that the new phones understand where they are in the factory floor, and you can do all sorts of things like new kinds of training or new kinds of navigation or new kinds of inventory or new kinds of security, right? All sorts of fun stuff to do. And that's just one little example. I have a list on Twitter of 1,800 companies. They're building little things in augmented and virtual reality, right? From gaming companies to shopping companies to medical companies doing surgery with HoloLenses and stuff like that. So there's lots of opportunity, and the innovation train is going to keep speeding up, which is going to open up more opportunity if you're on that side of the puzzle, right? If you understand how to do, how to work with Unity, game developer engine, you're in. If you understand how to do truck driving, man, you better get a new job, right? If you understand how to do AI and you're working with NVIDIA cards and you're building models and training things and helping businesses become more predictive, you're in. You're going to have a job for a while, right? And there's plenty of jobs to do if you have those skills, right? From cars to just looking through financial data and looking for new ways to save companies money or increase sales or decrease injuries, right? I talked to Trimble, a construction company, and they're walking. They're having these little robot dogs from Boston Dynamics walk around the construction site, and they have one of these LiDARs on it, which makes a 3D model of the whole thing. And then the AI looks for safety violations or looks for where can they put a load of lumber tomorrow, right? And they're planning out their whole day's work in HoloLenses from Microsoft, which are similar to what we've been talking about, right? So there's lots of things to do. I mean, lots of innovation coming and lots of new companies that are going to spring up. I'm tracking a whole bunch, 1,800 over on my Twitter list. So
that's awesome. Is that a public list? Can other people follow that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll post it in the show notes so people can check it out.
I have a bunch of Twitter lists on different kinds of segments. Like I have a list of autonomous cars and a list of AR, VR.
That's awesome. So there's plenty of opportunity. Basically, there's just an abundance of opportunity out there.
More and more.
In many industries using this technology, using AR, VR, AI, a mix of all these things. So maybe I'll put some resources in the description where people can start learning about this stuff. So there's plenty of even free online education on how to learn this stuff. So I'm hoping that the education system starts kind of speeding up in other parts of the world and really starts training people for this stuff.
I mean, if you and I talked in January and you said, "Hey, Scoble, by the summertime, your teachers are all going to close down their classrooms and they're going to be on Zoom," I would have called you and I would have said, "You're a flat earther. What are you smoking? Because I want some."
Yeah.
I mean, I dreamed about a world like this, but I didn't know that it would happen in 3 months, right? I mean, that's how much we've sped up. And a lot of things have sped up that much. NVIDIA, Netflix is real close to me, is seeing 7 times more usage today than they saw in January. And online shopping is seeing everything sped up by 8 years, right? So
wow.
now...
And do you think we're going to continue on that? Like we are 8 years ahead, or do you think it'll go back? Do you think it'll kind of spring back?
I think we'll relax a bit and then start going forward again, because what we're talking about with the glasses is another spring forward. And so, we could argue you and I are going to have glasses in 2 or 3 years. Certainly by 2023, we're going to have the glasses on. Normal everyday person might not buy the first ones, right? It might take, we could argue, does it take 2 years or 5 years or 10? Certainly by 10, it's over. There's no way you're not wearing glasses. And I can talk about why. A lot of people argue with me about this, but it's like, you're not going to have a job if you don't have glasses on. What are you talking about? I go, can you get a job without a mobile phone today?
It's hard.
No.
It's very hard.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been working a factory for it.
Yeah.
No, you would get fired. You would get fired. Your boss would say, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I'm sorry. Go buy an iPhone. Here's $1,000. Go buy yourself an iPhone because I need to be able to call you and send you things on the factory floor. Even if you're building baseball bats, you have to have a phone to be part of the modern world. If you don't, you're like weird, right?
Yeah, it's so true.
And the glasses are going to be the same way in less than 10 years. I think faster this time because the glasses bring so much utility for human beings, right? Because we think in 3D, we see the world in 3D. Why are we looking at flat little screens? It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
That's just all we can do right now. But once we finally get there, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
So I guess just thinking about now, maybe we'll do a whole other episode on some projects that will be useful right away. And people, I like you said, there's thousands of companies already doing this, using the technology that's already available. So when the glasses hit, they got it ready to go.
I think there's a whole bunch of people. I have a list of about 5,000 people in VR and AR. You start watching that list for a couple days, you're going to see all sorts of people doing little tiny projects to digitize like their sofa and then start playing with it. What do we do with it? My friends just went to school to learn robotics, right? So understand how to build 3D sensors or how to buy them, put them on something, how to see the world in 3D, how to understand the world in 3D, how to make a path, and then how to tell the motors to move, right? And all of that is going to be needed in a whole lot of places for a while.
It helps solve these real world problems. Like we want robots putting out fires, not other humans.
Bingo, right?
There you go.
And flying car companies, Sebastian Thrun started Kitty Hawk, and there's a lot of things to do there. And cars are not done yet. You can get a job at if you know those 3 skills: how to see the world in 3D, how to move a machine around, and how to do AI. You can get a job at Tesla, Ford, anywhere, right? And we haven't even started talking about really fun things to do if you're smart, right?
Exactly. That's all like the basics. Like this is not even the creative space where this just gets exponentially insane. So my last question for you then, Robert, is in the next little while, what are you most excited about? Like coming up, all this COVID, maybe in the next year or so with the COVID hopefully easing up, things getting better. What are you excited about?
VR is starting to step up. VR is starting to get lighter and sharper. And that means we can work in a new way together. And we can even entertain ourselves. Watching a video is going to be much more satisfying in the Quest that's coming out than the first one. And that opens up a whole bunch of new use cases for me. I'm looking toward Apple getting in the market with glasses. I think that's going to be a huge, huge deal. And if it's not, Facebook and Google are very willing to take a lot of market share away from Apple. Cars are, I'm bullish as hell about Tesla. I think Tesla's going to see a lot of change over the next 24 months, going into the Cybertruck and mapping and autonomous car technology. And so that's real exciting for me. Other than that, that's enough. That's a lot. That's a lot. Just a complete computer, paradigm shift in how we compute is coming, right? And we can feel that with VR. It's just VR is. It's not something I'm going to wear shopping or walking around, right? Or working at a factory. And so we need a little bit more toward the glasses. And Facebook, you were right. Facebook announced they're doing a lot of research, and you can see, okay, those things look pretty good. When are they going to get, consumer 2, 3, 4? Their internal number is 4 years. So they know they're behind Apple. So they're going to take, let's say 2024. That's not that long.
It's not.
And so we're going to see a lot of change between here and 2025. And then the second part of the decade really is going to be weird. if it's not already. I mean,
Yeah.
2020 is a shitty year in a lot of ways, but it's also a year of extraordinary change, which is why we think of it as shitty. It's forcing us to change.
Just a paradigm shift, right? It's just, it's rough, rocky roads.
The fact my school teachers are all on Zoom and my wife is working at home, it tells you a lot of things changed. And I'm with you. I don't think they changed back that much. Maybe a little, but we are going to go back to school someday. But the school teachers aren't going to forget about how to use Zoom. So now they decide, hey, let's take Tuesday off, and you guys stay at home and work on Zoom, and we'll do a Zoom class. We'll see. The smart, innovative ones are going to do that. And here's why. I can take you on a field trip to something really cool without you getting in a bus and spending money and taking time and putting kids at risk. And right. So now you want to have Elon Musk giving you a tour of SpaceX. Well, I can do that on Zoom. And you can't do that in your classroom, right? And so now do you stay at home for the field trip? And you start changing your idea of what education is. The bleeding edge will certainly do that. The problem is, how do you make that happen for everybody? And we're still a ways from that. I mean, even here in Silicon Valley, when we started this thing, I heard that 20% of the kids in rich Silicon Valley didn't have Wi-Fi in their house. And we're still hearing lots of stories like that. I just read another one about, kids in challenging situations who don't have consistent Wi-Fi, don't have consistent connectivity, don't have a good computer at home, don't have a place to work, right? Because if you're a family of 4 living in a 1-bedroom apartment, that's quite different than being in my situation where I have 4 separate bedrooms to be in with Zoom.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of things to figure out for a lot of kids and a lot of people, but these are things that can be solved.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I think technology is part of it. And I think just the way that society speeds it all up, I feel like things just kind of happen for a reason. And these things just start converging in a way that just kind of makes sense. That you're like, oh, this is how we get to here because, oh, wow, a deadly virus got everyone to actually be on video calls. Oh, okay. That kind of makes sense.
Things are changing. I mean, this Steadicam device I'm using from DJI, 10 years ago was $100,000 and weighed 50 pounds. And now it's $130 and it's a stick that I can shake around.
Yeah. I just got the Mavic Air 2 drone and I'm like, the shots that I'm taking would be like $1 million productions using helicopters and they didn't have 4K cameras. They'd be using like 70 millimeter fucking film cameras. They didn't have 4K. Like, it's insane. And I'm one guy with this little drone.
My first camera was $100,000. My first video camera.
Wow. On tape?
Beta tape. Yeah. Our church bought 3 cameras and a switcher and 2 tape decks, 2 beta tape decks back in 1980. And they were tubes. You had to heat them up for an hour.
Wow.
And then you had to align the tubes with an oscilloscope. And the whole system cost $500,000. And today, 3 iPhones is way better.
Way better. And it does so many other things, not just the video. You could do it live.
Not only that, I couldn't do this on my $100,000 camera, right? We didn't have high-speed internet, where we could do video conferencing, So it's crazy to live a life. See the amount of technology change in one 40, 50-year career,
It's wild. And you're going to still see so much more. And maybe like the fastest shift.
It's speeding up.
Yeah.
It's speeding up.
It's cool because you notice that. Yeah.
We're about to move into 3D. Everything's going to be 3D pretty quickly. Oh,
yeah.
Here's an example. Last night, I got my first pitch from a porn company for 3D porn. So
there you go.
Volumetric porn. I'm like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. There you go. It's always porn and gaming that'll move the world.
Lead the market,
forward.
Right?
Lead it forward.
All the way back to when I sold VCRs, right? I sold a lot of VCRs in the mid 1980s, and people would come in and ask me, why should I buy a VHS? It's not a Sharp. Yeah, these were engineers in Silicon Valley, right? And I'd say, go look at our video rental department. And they'd come back and go, okay, I'm buying a VHS.
That's why they see it. 100%. Yeah,
because you can fit a 2-hour movie on one VHS tape, and beta was twice as big. And so the adult industry went to VHS, and because it was cheaper. And most people don't care about resolution at that point. They care about cheaper.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And we've only seen how that sped up. So next, 3D porn. So that's your reason to get the glasses, your reason to get the Oculus Quest 2, people.
There's a lot of reasons to get the glasses beyond porn.
Of course.
But I thought it was interesting that it's a point in time that I just got a pitch last night on
that's
this.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
It's taken that long. I'm pretty sure I got that pitch doing even 360 video years ago.
Keep in mind, this is volumetric, and you can go completely around the actor, right?
Gotcha.
And this is how Hollywood's going to work. I mean, Intel has a huge studio, multi-million-dollar studio with 100 cameras around it. And so they put a basketball game in the studio, and they now have the entire basketball game in volumetric. So you can, as a viewer with glasses on, or even a phone, you can walk all the way around the basketball game. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, entertainment will be huge. I mean, Apple bought Next VR, right? So it makes sense. They're going to take over sports. And
they bought them for their volumetric camera. So they were designing a volumetric camera to do this because, a 360 camera just isn't good enough. I have a bunch of those. Seeing things in depth, seeing things like a hologram.
Move around it.
No, we want Princess Leia coming out of C3P, out of R2D2, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And we want to walk around Princess Leia, right? That's what we want. We want a 3D hologram, and that's what's coming soon.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, Robert, thanks so much for taking the time to be on Meld, man. This was so cool. We're going to have to do another one because it's been, oh my God, almost 2 hours, and we've only scratched the surface, man. This is crazy.
Just a little scratch.
I know. Well, Robert, thanks so much for joining me on Meld.
Thanks.
All right. Take care.